On our headlines, youths are the key to agriculture and securing food in Kenya. In Europe, air pollution has become one of the biggest health risks. Still in Europe, robots are coming for people's jobs. Daislee University students have launched My Portal application, which they invented. Yes, we welcome all our viewers across the country and around the globe. This is the current briefing. I'll be with you for the next 30 minutes. I am Daislee. You can join our conversations on Facebook page is at Current Briefing, and our Twitter handle is also at Current Briefing. Most people who practice farming in Kenya are 50 to 60 years of age, and they still use primitive methods of farming, but it is the government's big agenda to leave farming in the hands of the youth who are flexible to technology. Our correspondent Collins Orono has more on that.
Right, thank you very much, Daislee. I can hear you very well. What I can tell you is that the idea of moving agriculture into the hands of the youth is a viable idea, and is an idea that is working today. Looking at how young people are very good at using technology. Technology is contributing a lot to the improvement of agriculture and making agriculture better every day. And looking at the number of as many graduates in Kenya, you'll find that many people are moving to doing agriculture. Young people are moving to doing agriculture because they find it to be a better way of earning a living. And putting now agriculture and technology together makes it better and better. So for me, I think from the ground, what I've heard from people from the ground, they will tell you that they are happy. And the young people are using this opportunity very well, and also the old people are happy that young people are embracing agriculture, because this is something that was perceived to be an old people thing, and young people were not happy doing agriculture. So today things have changed and young people are happy about doing agriculture. While farming experts are supporting this idea of handing agriculture in the hands of the youths, we interviewed one of the women who sells vegetables at the Daislee market, and here is what she thinks.
Kwa majina naitwa Damaris, naishi Kitambazi, ninauza mboga. Mimi ni mama mboga hapa, na nataka kusema kwamba the main is vijana waendeleze farming, sababu the old people wanna take time sana kufanya farming, lakini vijana wakianza kufarm wanaweza kuja na new idea, new farming, new technology, and wanaweza endeleza vizuri Kenya, wanaweza kupea boga vizuri na tuendelea na kazi vizuri.
Most youths in Kenya are attracted to farmer-related jobs. However, the desire of the Kenyan government is to improve agriculture by reforming the education curriculum and increase learning in agriculture as early as elementary school. The Kenyan government feels that the only way to secure food is by leaving it in the hands of the youths, since most farmers in Kenya are above 40 years and they use primitive methods of farming. Mrs. Kithuka has been a farmer for 7 years in Machakos County, and here is what she thinks about agriculture moving in the hands of the youths.
I think it's very important for understanding the essence of the government putting emphasis on this agenda. The direction that the government is taking is quite good according to my view. It's because the youths need to know where food comes from, because they are actually the main consumers of these products from the farm. And so for them to know the skills on how to do farming, if it is vegetables growing, how do you grow them, it will be important rather than just going to the market and buying the products. It's also good for them to know once you grow these foods and you are getting them direct from your farm, you gain a lot in terms of nutrients, and you eat what you want, not what is provided within the markets. You can know how to, what type of manure to use or fertilizer. You can make use of those skills. Methods are now to even alternative farming when we have no rains. The youth need to know that we don't need to rely on the rains, but we can embrace the new technology on farming, the use of drip irrigation, and they make use of that farming. And through it, you'll find that food production in our country has been enhanced, and this will increase even employment opportunities for the youth. Instead of just looking for employment formal, they can actually major in agriculture.
With all these views, the decision of taking over the agriculture sector to secure food lies in the hands of the actual youths. We interviewed one of the youths in Daislee, and this is what they had to say.
Personally, I feel like the agriculture sector is going to go really down because the youths of nowadays just want these white collar jobs. They don't want to get dirty. So I feel this step that the government wants to take, it's not a really good step they want to take.
I think it is a good idea and it will improve the agriculture output in our country, provided that the government gives us training, because you find that our parents' generation, they know about crop production from maybe planting until harvesting, but us, we are lacking that. So if we are provided with the necessary training, I think we can provide the manpower as youth.
And now our correspondent Collins Orono joins us live. Welcome, Collins. Thank you for joining me live.
Thank you very much, Daislee. I can hear you very well.
Yes, Collins, what is the situation at hand currently from the interviews that you have had?
On the subject on whether agriculture can survive if left on the hands of the youth, I can tell you from the ground is that so many young people for a very long time have been left behind when it comes to agriculture. And the perception has always been that young people are lazy and they're not able to do agriculture. And it has shifted. Today, young people are really getting into agriculture, and the methods that young people are using to do the agriculture have improvised. And you look at today, young people are using agriculture, using technology to do agriculture. You find people using mobile phones, advertising their products on Facebook, on Twitter, and also advertising their products through other channels, digital channels. So that one shows you how important technology is in agriculture.
Yes, Collins, do you think that it is viable for the government to leave farming in the hands of the youth?
And also from the conversations I've had with young people and different people, it becomes clear that people feel safe, feel like young people are headed the right direction if they're using agriculture, if they're using technology to do agriculture. Really modern, and they're using technology. So that is one advantage that we have today. And the challenge before was that the challenge today to the old generation is that they don't know how to use this technology in agriculture. But young people are well equipped when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to using these equipments, using mobile phones, using the internet, and all those other forms of technology.
Well, thank you so much, Collins, for joining me live. Yes, this shift in agriculture has its pros and cons, and joining me live is an expert in agriculture, Mr. Piers Muia. Thank you so much, Mr. Piers, for joining me live.
Okay, thank you, Daislee, for hosting me and making comments about agriculture and involving it the youth.
Yes, Mr. Piers, as a farmer for more than 10 years, what is your take on the government leaving the agriculture in the hands of the youth?
Okay, I think my view is that agriculture has been left to the old people. I think that is what has been the practice and the tradition. And the old people, most likely of them, are using traditional means. I think my view is that if it is handed over to the young people who are educated, they understand even basically the crops which may be able to survive in specific areas. They also use modern technology in agriculture, and so I think that's the right place to go.
Yes, Mr. Pierce, we see that the food security in Kenya is quite unclear. What has the government done so far to make sure that they secure food in Kenya?
One of the things the government has done, I think the devolution, I think that's the first thing the government has done, devolving the funds to the county level, because at that level then they are able to reach more people. And I think the other bit which the government has done is to be able to give subsidies in the areas of fertilizers, seeds, so that even when people don't have the seeds, they can be given seeds, then they can be able to pay whatever they need to pay after the harvest. So I think that's the greatest, precisely the subsidies and the evolution which the government has already done.
Yes, do you think that it is risky to embrace these new ways of improving food in Kenya?
I think personally what I would say is that I'm sorry to say it's a shame for our people to be dying because of anger at this time, over 50 years after independence. I think the government should be able to focus, as the president has focused on the big four. I think both the central government and the county government should be able to focus on the area of food security and water. Because if they are able to address those two things, then I think the issue of food security will be a thing of the past.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Pierce, for your detailed analysis. Thank you for joining me live.
Okay, thank you for the interview and the insight and the discussion.
In Europe, air pollution has become one of the biggest health risks, leaving at least 1,000 people dead per day, and the government's failing to tackle the issue. You can join our conversations on our Facebook page is at Current Briefing, and our Twitter handle is also at Current Briefing. Our correspondent Elizabeth Munini has more on that.
Air pollution is threatening people's lives each and every day due to the industrialization and emission of gases that are poisonous to people. The question in people's minds may be, where are the affected countries going wrong?
The environmental degradation, the environmental decay, I call it that way, is because of the population growth, lack of rainfall, population growth, and also other economic factors whereby people are forced to rely on things that are not really from the farms, causing people survival. It's survival for the fittest, if I put it that way, and therefore the environment will continue decaying unless things changes. Everybody in every year, over 10,000 graduates are released to the market, and they don't go to the farm. They look for white-collar jobs. So that is why the population is growing within the urban centers, unlike the rural areas.
People use different methods to boost the economy and industrialization. Recently, it has been working almost for everyone who has the right technology. But should the people continue with these methods if it affects their health?
I think what Europe can do to reduce the air pollution is by decreasing or controlling what they produce, especially in their industries, their chemical industries. Mostly that's what's causing the air pollution in Europe, and it's the one. And you know that when air is polluted, the environment is also polluted, and that's what is causing skin cancer, different type of cancers around Europe. And they can reduce that by reducing the gas they allow it on air, and they can also reduce the number of industries they have, despite the fact that industries are needed for development and all that. But they should also consider it as in a way they should reduce it in a way to reduce the effects it has on its people. And yeah, Europe is a huge country, and it should invent ways of preventing such things happening in their continent.
We also managed to interview more people to get their views on this issue of concern.
So Europe faces a lot of air pollution. This is because there are big industries there that deal with coal and agriculture, and also most of their carbon emission is coming from cars. So there's a lot of big city traffic,
So this is especially dangerous because the cars move around cities and they're in close to people. So with the production of nitrogen dioxide, it's increasingly becoming harmful to people, especially people dealing with things like asthma. So I'm happy that the World Environment Day this year, the theme is going to be beat air pollution. So I'm supporting that, and I will pledge that they move into renewable energy and they come up with strict policies, and they also implement these policies on vehicle exhaust systems. So this would mean that they move to a system where they use a lot of electric cars. So I think that would be the recommendation moving forward.
I think Europe is facing a lot of air pollution because of the many industries they have. The emissions from the industries are causing the air pollution.
Reporting for Current Briefing, my name is Elizabeth Munini.
Well, still in the story of air pollution, joining me live is an expert in environment, Dr. Ngu. Thank you so much, Dr. Ngu, for joining me live.
Oh yeah, thank you, Daislee, for hosting me.
Well, Dr. Ngu, what is your take on this issue of air pollution becoming one of the biggest health risks in Europe?
It's my view on the air pollution as being a factor that is contributing to the health risk in Europe is that this is more pronounced in Europe than you would say in other continents, in other places in the world. And much of it, I would see it as coming from the pollution that comes in because of the times when the people in Europe will be like in-house, especially because of the modes that will form and how that translates into kind of toxin that will be in-house during the times when the weather is quite I mean the temperatures are quite low. So it is a factor that has been reported, and I guess it has more weight because of the fact that most of these other risks and most of these other aspects of health have been addressed, and they are being addressed in that place.
Dr. Ngu, why do you think that Europe is failing to address this issue of air pollution?
I think the air pollution needs to be can be addressed even using the legislatures, where you have some policies and the laws, but and that can control like the air pollution that comes from burning of fossil fuels, so that we have the reduction in the particulate kind of pollutants, the fine particles that are suspended in the air. But there are also the pollutants that would come from like trees. These are agents from the glass, from the trees, and also from like now from the molds that would form as a result of water affecting the areas that one is in, and that becomes difficult to legislate against. So it can be a challenge from that perspective.
Okay, so currently in Kenya, what is the situation at hand? Are we facing the same health problems because of air pollution?
Yes, air pollution, as we understand it, has to do with the pollution that would come in terms of gases or even very fine particles. And as I understand it, in Europe, you would have, it's becoming a major threat to the health of the citizens there, particularly in terms of the very fine particles that would be in the air or suspended in the air, and also from the whole issue of the molds.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ngu, for your detailed analysis. Thank you for joining me live.
Thank you, Daislee, for hosting me.
Everybody's coming to the interstellar park.
Moving on in Europe, robots are coming for people's jobs, leaving at least countries in the eastern communities particularly vulnerable, and with the fear that their jobs will be automated. Our correspondent Pamela has more on that. The invention of robots has instilled fear in the human race. The inventors started this as a way of raising employment rates, but are they still at that? We managed to interview the experts in the media and film industry to tell us what they think about robots coming for their jobs in their industries.
So I believe that robots are going to have a whole, or rather scientists are going to have a long period of time right before they come up with an invention that's going to replace human beings. But even if they come, some of us are not replaceable, and those people in that class, they are also not replaceable, and that's my 2 cents.
Patrick is one of the students in the film and media industry, and this is what he had to say.
My name is Patrick Mutinda. I don't think robots can really replace the human labor, because at some point they may function, but then the consciousness and the common mind, it's not there in the robot. So I still think no way that robots can take the place of human being, because even when God created human being, he created him in his own image and his own understanding. So we need the skills of God in everything we do, and that's why a robot can never be compared to a human being.
All in all, it all depends on one's opinion on whether the robots will take over in Africa.
To be honest, in Europe it can work, but in Kenya we are not there yet. We are still a third world country, so it will be hard for us to use robots.
With this story of robots coming for people's jobs in Europe, joining me live is a film expert, Joy Adams. Thank you, Joy Adams, for joining me live.
Thank you, Daislee, for hosting me.
Yes, Mr. Joy Adams, what is your take on robots coming for people's jobs in Europe?
Yes, robots are coming for our jobs. I'm lucky that it will take longer before they can take my job, but finally they might take it. But I can say both in the West, in Asia, or even Europe, there's going to be a lot of people losing their jobs. Drivers will lose their jobs to Uber and automated cars and all that. Truck drivers will lose their jobs. There's no accountant can be better than a computer software to do accounting or auditing. So I'm just thinking it's just a matter of time. Though I think there are some jobs that will not be taken by robots that require a lot of emotional intelligence, which robots might not have. Because robots, I think they are good with what I would call intelligence, IQ. They have what is IQ, but I doubt they have EQ. The other thing, I think in industry like manufacturing, people lose their jobs. In construction, workers will lose their jobs. In supermarkets, we've already seen that the cashiers and the tellers are losing their jobs very fast. Like Amazon just started another product called Amazon Go, which allows you to go shop and just leave the shop. I know they have sensors everywhere, so they scan your card. So as soon as you enter something into a basket, they've already automated the system, has already deducted the amount of money. So I think that way it means people working for these supermarkets and these big chains will lose their jobs soon with that kind of product coming into market. We've seen like in Germany, I think manufacturing actually is the main income of Germany as a country, and the robots there are producing everything from the cars, from all the machines. They've really taken over, so they're producing a lot of stuff, and they're accurate. They do the job. They won't get tired like a human being. See, human beings can only work from maybe 8 to 5. They work like an average of 40 hours per week. A robot can work 100 hours per week, or even 200 hours per week. It depends. They really can work for long without getting tired. You just need to service them and they'll be good to go. Human beings will become sick, which means your work might delay. So I think in some way robots will do a good job, but I think human beings have to find things to do. So the job market is not assured for some of us, but we continue to press on.
maybe we need to find a way to collaborate with the robots, how to engineer them. Yeah. Maybe I see a situation whereby there might be a war between the robots and human beings. Maybe there will be a conflict, human conflict. Maybe human beings will make sure the robots malfunction and they don't work effectively. I don't think they're going to win. I mean, we've seen how taxi drivers have tried to kick Uber out of the market without, making it. Especially even here in Kenya, they were very hesitant. They were like, Uber is gonna take all our jobs, and they demonstrated, but that only lasted for a few weeks and months, and they had to accept that technology is here and is here to stay.
And lastly, do you think that at some point in Africa we'll face this situation of robots taking over people's jobs?
Will robots affect Africans? Yes, in a very big way. This technology is imported. It will come here already. It's come in some ways, and I think what will happen. I mean, the banks now starting to using accounting softwares instead of hiring more people, so they're avoiding hiring new people. So that is the way it's affecting people. We have companies here in Kenya that run and produce products. Everything, the production line is fully automated. So it means you need only very few people in the industries to just maybe give a few commands or just pack. So I think it's going to affect Africans as well. No one is immune to these robots.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Joy Adams, for your detailed analysis. Thank you so much for joining me live.
Thank you, Daislee, for hosting me.
Welcome back. And moving on, Daislee University students have launched My Portal application on Android phone. This application was created by 3 students in partial fulfillment of an ACS class. Our correspondent Pamela has more on that.
My Portal is an application created by computer science students in collaboration with DASTA Information and Technology Association, DITA. They were challenged to identify a problem in the institution and solve it by creating an application.
It was worked on by a group of DITA students, and as computer science students we're taught to look at the problems with things around us and find a software solution to it. And we've been having problems with registering and the whole portal issue. The servers have had issues, and this was the answer to it. The My Portal app was the answer to it, trying to fix those problems.
The problem that was identified was students having to go to the institution's website to access information on classes, grades, and finances. They made this information easily accessible. I managed to interview Brian Kamau, one of the students who worked on the application, for more information.
I was on the team that created the Android version of the portal. It's a more complete application for Android users, especially the students. It allows them to easily access their class schedules. It also allows them to get their finances, see how much balance is left. It also gives you your invoice. In the future, we are working on enabling students to actually register for classes and drop classes.
The app has been received well by students.
And I'm so grateful for the student app that the student came up with, especially the computer science students. Majority of them are my friends, so I feel like they kept all students into consideration, especially when they made this app, because you can access it anywhere, anytime, provided you have Wi-Fi or bundles. At the same time, it gives you notifications of where and what time your classes are. So it gives you notification the day before. Like if you have a class tomorrow morning, it gives you notification that tomorrow morning you have a class at PCC from 8:45 to 11:45. So I like the fact that they kept into consideration that people sometimes are forgetful, and it reminds you, provided you connect to a Wi-Fi or bundles. And the other thing I also like about it is that you can easily access your grades. No need to log in the DASTA all the way to the DASTA link. All you have to do is just look at the app and you get your grades.
I like the portal app But the issue is, if I open my phone to check my portal app, to check my balance, it's showing me I have zero balance. But if I go to finance, I go to Conflab, I check my balance, it's showing me I have balance. So that's the issue.
Pamela Wanjiro, Current Briefing.
Well, to get more details on this application of my portal, joining me live is Michael Bukachi, one of the students who created my portal. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining me live.
Thank you, Daislee, for hosting me.
Well, Michael, the first question, what made you design my portal application?
My portal was kind of like a class project for third year, first final semester. So it was basically everyone is supposed to come up with an app idea and implement it and showcase it at the end of the semester. So I thought, okay, wow, this can actually work. So after like months of deliberating, thinking about it, I started implementing it. It actually worked. Then, yeah, that's how it came. That was the initial idea, just a class project.
What features does my portal application contain?
It's like a replica of the online portal with just a little bit, okay, not just a little, a lot of convenience. You have to log in once. The moment you log in once, everything is done for you. You do not have to keep jumping between web pages, going through the hectic process of viewing stuff, viewing your own personal information. As in, it's easily accessible from your own handheld device. Grades, your class schedule, your exams, your finances, the school calendar. There's so many features in there.
Yes, Michael, how many students currently are using this application?
Okay, last time I checked, the number of students who are using it was around 800 to 900. I'm not sure the exact figure. We're hoping that by the end of this year we will have passed the 1,000 mark, maybe even the 1,500 mark. I think 2,000. In the end, we want like every single Daystar student who can use it to use it, as in because it just makes the life of a student more convenient.
Yes, Michael, we've heard of cases where when a student logs in on the Daystar website, they see different information from the one they see on the Daystar Android application. So what is... Yes, Michael, we've heard of cases where the students, when they log on to the Daystar website and when they also log on to the Android application, they see different information. How do you handle such cases?
The app, most of the main idea of the app was convenience in mind. You find that maybe when you log in onto the online portal and you want to view your finances, you find that the value there sometimes it's a bit confusing. You don't know if it's you have a balance or if you don't have a balance. So those are the stuff we actually try to fix with the app. So you find that it's actually clear. But the moment you open the app, you want to view your finances, you can see, okay, oh, I have cleared my fees, or no, okay, I still have to pay this. So that those are the little things we really wanted to focus on with the app to improve the convenience of our students.
Yes, Michael, thank you. Lastly, are you trying on improving this my portal application?
When the app came out, we decided to go to release it as a club project instead of going through the Daystar, because in the past, whenever we tried to suggest an idea to Daystar, the bureaucratic hurdles made the process really long. So we decided, okay, maybe it's better we just use our club to launch the app instead of actually going through the entire process.
Well, thank you so much, Michael, for joining me live. Thank you for giving me a detailed analysis.
Thank you, Daislee, for hosting me. It's been a pleasure.
Moving on to our quote of the day is by Eleanor Roosevelt, and it says that no one can make you feel inferior unless you give them consent. Have a good day. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel on Daislee Magwenchu.